So a few words of conclusion. The Arctic sea ice will decrease during the 21st century. However, it will continue to form during every winter. We can expect large interannual variability, as we've seen in the past. New sea routes will become increasingly navigable. However, since there will be a lot of interannual variability, it will still be a gamble for many years to come whether you can actually navigate these areas or not. We've seen them, the sea routes being opened. Last year was the first time that both the northwest passage and the northern sea route was open during the same season. Otherwise, we've seen one being open or the other, and many years none of them being open. And that's probably going to continue for several years into the future. What we also expect, because of the longer ice-free season and this heating by the solar radiation of the ocean, we can expect longer ice-free seasons in all areas where there are ice-free seasons, and even the areas that are covered by sea ice, like the area around the North Pole, will probably eventually be ice-free during the summer, and also that the period of ice-free season will become longer. Some of these areas have a lot of potential for oil and mineral exploration, so eventually the ice situation will ease in these areas, but again, predicting when that will happen is very difficult. We can expect to see increased tourism in Arctic areas, or actually we've already seen increased tourism, so there's probably going to be much more of that. But because of the interannual variability, because there will still be sea ice in the winter, this means that there will be an increased need for ice information. There will probably also be an increased need, or there will definitely also be an increased need for search and rescue as operations increase in these areas that have potential ice hazards. Icebergs may become a larger risk as sea ice disappears, because then you will have individual icebergs that carve from the Greenland ice sheet. We already have that problem on the west coast of Greenland. There's not a lot of navigation on the east coast, but as navigation on the east coast increases, then there will probably also, or there will also, we will see a need for more and better ways of addressing the iceberg risk on the east coast of Greenland. Now, in addition to this, what is needed in order to improve our ability to predict the scenarios that we will see in the future? Well, the Arctic Ocean is sort of a white patch on the global map, the map of the world. There's a lot of things we don't know about the Arctic Ocean. We don't have many measurements. We have satellites. The satellites can observe the surface of the Arctic Ocean, so we know where the ice is. We can now, in recent years, also measure how thick the ice is, but satellites cannot measure the ocean. Well, when there's no ice, the satellites can measure the surface temperature of the ocean, but the satellite can't tell us anything about what happens beneath the surface of the ocean. So in order to, and that's actually the background from a lot of the uncertainty in what is going to happen in the Arctic in the future, is that we don't know enough about what is happening in the Arctic right now and what has happened in the Arctic in the past. We have very few measurements of the ocean, the Arctic Ocean. And the International Polar Year, the last couple of years, have given us a strong leap forward in terms of the technical capabilities of actually collecting data from the Arctic Ocean. We now have autonomous platforms that can drift in the Arctic and collect oceanographic data, transmit them back via satellite communication. But there's a need for a continuation of that so that we can actually monitor what's going on in the Arctic Ocean. So there will be an increased need as these areas become more interesting from various perspectives, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about that today. Also for monitoring programs that actually can give us the information that we are lacking, both in terms of the weather and the oceanographic conditions in the Arctic. Thank you.